What's up, guys? Welcome back to another tier list ranking video. And the reason I changed it up from what I was originally going to do this weekend, which was going to be basically every comic book movie with a villain as the main character ranked. But with this, I'm changing it up because I broke my arm and it's way easier to edit tier list videos with one hand. So let's get into it. So starting off, we have Book of Boba Fett. The Bad Batch. Now, a lot of people either love this, think it's bad, or it's more on the bad side than the good side. I'm more like that side. I feel like it has way too many fillers episodes, but in my opinion, when it's good, it's really good. So I'm gonna put it in, I'll put it at like bottom of B tier because it's good. It just has way too many filler episodes that feel very long. Book of Boba Fett. This show, in my opinion, is very underrated. I still think that the first half of the season, I just felt like they were trying to add in more plot that wasn't really useful. And also, when we got to catch up on Mandalorian and Grogu, it was way better. But when the best part of your show doesn't even have your main lead, your title character, it does not make it a very great show. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Next up, we have Star Wars Forces of Destiny. I didn't even know that this was canon until now. And it's just, I've never seen it, but it looks bad. The people who I know who have seen it have disliked it. And it's more of a thing for young kids. So I'm just going to put it in F. Because that's what everyone else does, and I haven't really seen it yet. And the Clone Wars movie, it's just basically a compilation of some of the episodes. It wasn't even that good of the episodes that they picked to put in the show, so I'm probably never going to watch it again because it's basically just a compilation of some not so great episodes. So if there was a tier in between C and D, I'd put it there because I'll never watch it again, but I wouldn't call it like outright bad, so I'll put it in D tier. Okay, The Phantom Menace. Now, this one is a bit tough for a lot of people because a lot of people either think they love it, they think it's bad, or they think it's okay. But I actually like this more than... I'm actually quite critical on this movie. I do think it could have been a great Star Wars movie. If this video gets like 15 likes, maybe I'll do a video on how The Phantom Menace could have been a good movie. But I think it's overall not a great movie, so I'm going to stick it right behind the Book of Boba Fett. Actually, no, I'll put it... I'll put it right here. I'll put it in C tier because I love Qui-Gon Jinn in this. He's a great character, and I wish we got to see more of him. But this was his, only movie, but in the Star Wars universe, so I'm going to put that in C tier. Revenge of the Sith. I love this movie. There's not much I really have to say. I feel like everything is great. My only real criticism of the movie is that, for one, the Hayden as Anakin's acting was a bit off in some points. And also the drastic change from Anakin be like, oh, I better go tell Mace Windu to, I'm going to go kill some kids. It's a very big of a change in, super quickly. So I'm going to put it in S tier, but it won't be at the top of S tier. A New Hope. It's another great movie. I don't think it's quite S tier, because in my opinion, S tier is like peak fiction kind of stuff. But in my opinion, A New Hope is great. I just find it not as entertaining as some of the other Star Wars movies and shows. The Clone Wars, another great thing. I'm going to put it right above Revenge of the Sith. It makes Revenge of the Sith better because it makes the Order 66 stuff actually sad. Because you got to know all these Jedi and clones well. I really like the Ahsoka, Anakin, Maul, and Obi-Wan. I liked all of them. Those people were great in that show. I just don't like season 1 very much of Clone Wars, but other than that, it's some fantastic Star Wars content. Next up is Empire Strikes Back. Now, this is most people's favorite, but it's not my favorite Star Wars thing. But I will put it above Revenge of the Sith because, in my opinion, it is very good. and it's a perfect movie. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't enjoy it as much as some of the other movies and shows. Next up is Return to the Jedi. Same thing. I feel like this could have been a perfect movie unless they had this is not why I'm calling my channel this, but if it had Wookiees instead of Ewoks, it would have made it a more serious ending. I think then it would have been perfect. And that's not just because my channel name is, yeah. I'll just put it right under Revenge of the Sith because I enjoy Revenge of the Sith more as a movie. Next up is Force Awakens. Gotta tell ya, I love this movie. It is so freaking underrated. It's basically A New Hope, but more enjoyable. I think I don't have much problems with it. All the characters, I liked how they were handled in this movie. I just don't like the way that they, how some of the plot lines that were set up in this movie went through, but that's the problem with the rest of the sequels. But that kind of holds it back, and that it's a direct copy of A New Hope. But I feel like if those things weren't a problem, I might put that above A New Hope. Like, I really like this movie. Speaking of movies, that I hate, yeah, I hate this movie. I haven't even seen this, but I can guarantee you that this is worse than Forces of Destiny. I hate this movie. In my opinion, it ruined Luke Skywalker's character and knocked it back from being like number 2 spot on my top 5 Star Wars characters. It basically deconstructed everything, and most of the fandom kind of agrees with me that this was a very bad movie. And I don't like almost anything about this. It's hard to rewatch it because of how bad it is. So there. Another movie I find to be underrated, Rise of Skywalker. I'm one of the only people who actually enjoys this movie. I think it's okay though, because for one, I feel like it would have been better if they did not have this be the end of the Skywalker saga. I liked everything in this movie except for the Palpatine stuff and the parts that made it like a finale. Because if it were just talking about like the MacGuffin story and trying to trap down an object, it would be like top of A tier. Like, I would really like this movie quite a bit. But is the ending to the Skywalker saga and a bunch of the bad decisions they went through, I can't put it any higher than C. Because I just can't put it anywhere higher than C. Because it's a terrible end to the Skywalker saga. And I feel like all the Palpatine stuff was very abrupt. Like, something they could have done to be better is they set up the Palpatine stuff throughout this movie and then have a actual finale movie where all the stuff set up in this film would lead up in that. If you also want me to do a how to fix Rise of Skywalker, comment down below which one you'd rather have, that or Phantom Menace. But I do think this is underrated, but it does have its faults. Now, The Mandalorian, I'm just going to get this out of the way. I love this so much. I'm going to actually put it above, I'm going to put it right there, because it's, in my opinion, a very good show. It's probably what Star Wars needed at that moment in time, because people weren't liking the sequels very much, and people were really hating on Star Wars, but I don't know, like, anyone who disliked this. This pretty much saved the Star Wars community, and the entire Star Wars in general, like. And also, even without that, it's a very good story, great character arc with Mando throughout this show. That season 2 ending was so sad, and it's because you actually got to care about the characters because you had enough to explore with them. So, in my opinion, the only thing that holds it back from being top spot is the fact that Season 2 is a bit like, let's go to the place to meet the next person. Now we'll go to the place to meet the next person. So it just felt a bit repetitive there, but overall, a great thing. Next up is the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Speaking of underrated again, I really like this show. I'm going to put it right above Bad Batch. Because I really do like this. Unlike a lot of people love it or hate it. I like it, but I don't, love it because I do think it has its faults. Because Reva, I actually did like as a character, more or less. But, they focused on her way too much. in my opinion. And the stuff with Anakin and Darth Vader was like perfect, top tier. But if that was the show and they just spent more time with that and maybe cut back on like the young Leia stuff, I feel like this could have been S tier and maybe even above something like Revenge of the Sith. But overall, it's a great Star Wars show. Well, it's a good one because that's why it's in B tier. Next up is Rebels. I'm not as fond of this as a lot of other people are. I'm going to put it right under Kenobi because I do like this. I just feel like season 1, I feel like the characters of Grand Admiral Tarkin, Ahsoka, Darth Vader, and Maul carried this show. I feel like it's not a very good show, in my opinion. But it is a good show because I put it in B, but I really don't like it as much as the others. It's, in my opinion, way too directed towards young audiences, which I feel like was the show's fault. Next up is this thing. I don't even remember the name of it, but it's not as bad as everyone says it is, but it's still not good. This is way geared towards younger audiences. It was not made for me at all, and I have no desire to watch this ever again. It's also kind of bad. It's better than what people make it out to be, but I'm just going to put it in E tier. Next up is Rogue One, another great Star Wars movie. This movie focuses on the war side of Star Wars, and I feel like it's one of the more interesting movies because it's set and it shows how they got the Death Star plans. And before I watch A New Hope, I will always watch this because it makes it so much better. And in my opinion, this is a perfect Star Wars movie. I just don't enjoy it as much as the stuff above it. Next up is Solo, a Star Wars story. I really like this one. I'm going to put it at top of B tier. There's not much I have really to say. It's underrated. It's good. But in my opinion, instead of being a movie, this should have been a Star Wars show. Then I feel like it would have knocked it up to A tier. Because in my opinion, through the Star Wars show formula, this would actually have been pretty good. Next up is Attack of the Clones. I don't like this movie, at all. I'm gonna put it in D tier. It has some redeeming qualities, but overall it's not good. Next up is Andor, the newest Star Wars show, and in my opinion, a very good one. This is basically the start of the rebellion, and I really like how they showed it. It was not a big epic story, but it was just a simple story about, with a good story, and I feel like this is more of what Star Wars needs at the moment, and it's top of A tier for me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications, and I'll see you in another ranking video.